What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Wing and Tail Boys. On this episode, I'm going to be going through my transition into saddle hunting this year. This is going to be the first year that I'm going into it. I have a specific reason why I'm switching over to a saddle setup versus, say, a hanging set kind of thing. And I'm going to go through that with you, go over what my setup looks like, and then I'm actually going to go ahead and climb a tree for the first time today. So stick around and let's get into it. Okay, so first, let's talk about my reasoning for switching over to a saddle hunting setup. So, in the very, very early years of me hunting, I had an incident happen where my tree stand fell out from underneath me. I was young, I was climbing a tree, I was using the climber, and I didn't set it up properly. And it was one of the older Amica stands where you can actually adjust the bottom. And when I went to go pull the pins to adjust the bottom platform, the entire platform fell out on me and I was left hanging in the tree for a little bit longer than I would have liked, to be honest with you. I was somewhere between 15 and 20 feet up, so it was definitely high enough to cause some damage. And due to that situation, I have since then developed a fear of heights. So typically speaking, the climbing process makes me a little uneasy, but once I'm up there, I know I'm in the harness, I get comfortable with my surroundings, and from that point forward, for the most part, I'm good throughout the day. Now, I was listening to a podcast, I think it might have been the Deer Gear podcast, I'm not positive though, and one of the guests on the podcast I was listening to had mentioned that he is deathly afraid of heights, and it's actually the reason that he prefers the saddle over anything else. And he said that when you wear a normal harness, you know that it's there, but there's always the slack in your harness line. So you don't feel it. You know it's there in your head, but you don't have a constant reminder that it's there. And really the only time you're gonna feel it is when you use it. But they said in this podcast I listened to, they said that the great thing about the saddle, especially for people that are afraid of heights, is knowing that you always have that tension on the tether. And knowing that from the moment you get set and you start climbing that tree, you have that tension on the ropes at all times, a constant reminder that you are safe and you are snug. So the biggest part, from what I understand, with saddle hunting is to make sure that you trust your gear. Practice with it a lot, spend some time lower on the ground, which I've done, and once you trust your lines, you start making your way up the tree and build that comfort and that confidence in the system. For the first part of this video, let's go over the gear that I have and kind of my setup to start my saddle journey, if you will. Being that I'm just getting started, I didn't want to spend too much money on the equipment, just in case I didn't really like it or I didn't enjoy it or didn't feel comfortable or whatever the case may be. I wanted to get something that was decent, but also wasn't going to break the bank. So what I did was I went with the XOP Edge and Mondo combo kit. So far, so good. I enjoy it. It didn't really break the bank, and it came with everything that I needed to get started. All in all, love the setup that I've got to start. Now for climbing sticks, I also have XOPs. I have the double sticks here. I also have the triple sticks, but I think I'm going to start with the double sticks to save some weight there. Last year, I got 4 double sticks, 4 triple sticks, and a hang-on platform used, and honestly, the best decision I've made so far. For my saddle bags, I decided to get these pouches, these gear pouches. I got the ones from Tethered. I really like them. They're mesh, they're lightweight. They don't have any zippers or anything. It's just a pull cord here, and that's really going to be nice and easy. It's going to be simple. It's going to be quiet in the woods. I then went with a bridge from Amsteel, the Amsteel guy, with this whoopee here. I really like this whoopee because it's really easy to loosen and to tighten, and everything is right there, one hand usage. So far, the little bit of use I've gotten out of it, I really enjoy that so far. So that little piece goes in this little pouch, and my bridge is always connected to my saddle right here. So when I'm climbing, it stays in here. And when I get to the top of my tree, I pull it out. And I also have the Prusik attached to the other side. And it stays here permanently as well. With the carabiner here, so once I get up in the tree, unhook this, get this around, clip it in, and I'm all set, ready to go. Well, this fire's just smoking me out, man. It's telling me to get on with it. Anyway, now inside of this left pouch is my tether. This right here is my tether line with one of these nice little 3D printed stoppers. I just really like the concept of it, not to let the safety line slip through that. And I'll make sure I show that to you as I'm climbing and what I use that for. So basically everything for once I get to the top of my tree is in my left pouch, including my hiss strap, which is over here. I'm not gonna pull, I guess I can pull that out. So I got my hiss strap over here. This is also from Tethered. Really like the concept of this. Really simple. The simplistic design keeps things nice and easy. And then underneath here, I put my own little pouch, and that's just simply because I didn't want to have this loose, you know, go to pull out one rope and this comes out and falls out. I didn't really want to deal with that. So this is what we're working with here on the left side. So nothing on the left side needs to be touched until I get to the height that I'm going to hunt at. Now on the right side of the bag here is more of the stuff that I need for when I'm climbing, with the exception of my platform rope here. And that's just simply because I didn't have anywhere else to put it on the left side there. I don't have anything in this pouch back here. And in this bag, or this pouch, I have this is my lineman rope. This is the one that I will be using to climb. And then a secondary safety rope, or lineman rope, or whatever it is that I want to use this for. Essentially why I have this extra rope is if I get to like a branch or a limb that I need to get around, instead of having to pull out my bridge, set my bridge up, wrap it back up, put it away, at least I have this safety line. And then I can just take it, crumple it up, and throw it back in here, because I'm only going to need it again if I get into, again, something with a limb or something like that. And if I don't need it, I don't need it to be neat. I can just throw it in there and it's fine. So I have that set up there like that. And I have another one of these black pouches here, although I haven't exactly found a reasonable use for it yet. So for now, it's just kind of there, living its best life. And maybe I'll come up with a use for it, and maybe I won't. Now, before we move on to the climbing portion of this video, I just want to talk to you a little bit about some modifications or customizations that I've done to some of my equipment. Firstly, on my platform, I've put two different things on here. First, I've put this paracord here, so that way it dampens that metal to metal sound. I know you still hear it, but it's not nearly as bad as it was before. And then also down here, I've put one of these like furniture stoppers. Like that's literally just one of those pads you put on the bottom of a piece of furniture so you don't scratch up your floor. But that's so that way when my thing opens and it touches there, you don't get that metal on metal clang. Even though there is a little bit of a sound, it doesn't really last very long. And I love that. I love silence. Next up, we have our sticks. And literally everything you see here that isn't from XOP, I've done myself. So let me just remove this here to keep it simple. Now, firstly, all of these ropes that you see, I bought one big like 100-yard spool, and I cut these, tied them, and made them myself. A cool little thing that I've added onto here that I really actually like are these little just elastic bands, and pretty much all I use those for is to keep these ropes in place. Bring it up and around, I give it enough slack so that way, you know, they're not super tight, but they're just keeping everything in place nice and neat, and I really like that feature. So far it's worked out for me really well. Next thing I did, obviously, is I've taped it up. I didn't use the stealth strips. I haven't tried them yet, but so far, like this fabric camo tape or the camo duct tape has worked pretty well for me so far. So I don't really see a need to switch over from that at this moment. Probably the biggest thing, the biggest change that I made that I really absolutely needed to were these double steps. Last year, it was just, by the time I got to the top of my tree, my one leg, whichever one was at the top of my sticks for every stick, was just terrible. So I made it a point to make sure I got these double steps for this year, and I'm really thinking that these are going to go ahead and help me out. I've also added some paracord to these sticks, honestly, for nothing more than just a visual thing. I like the way it looks. I've tried to keep everything company colors, orange and green. And then lastly, I have aiders on two of my sticks. Because aiders, in my opinion, if they're not made well, or if you don't use them properly, or if you miss a step, they can be somewhat dangerous. So the way I like to use my aiders is I use them on the first two sticks. They're the lowest to the ground. I'm confident in them and I'm comfortable. And then that just gives me the extra distance I need to not need those triple steps. On my first stick, which is this one right here, the back one, this is a triple aider. I could get this stick pretty much up above my head and get that triple aider. So it's pretty much like having a triple step without needing to carry that triple step. And then on my second stick, I have one single step aider. What I've come to find is that after your first step, it really doesn't matter because you can only go as high as you can reach. And being that I'm real short, I mean, I'm 5'6" on a good day, having a longer aider on any stick other than the first is kind of pointless. Well, there you have it. That is essentially my gear for climbing. Obviously, I still have a backpack. It's got all my camera gear in it and my calls and all of my hunting gear. Today's video was just like a bag drop for the actual climbing portion of my setup. And then I'll be sure to give you another video as we get closer to hunting season that kind of lays out everything that's in my bag and what it is that I use. Next, let's go over to our tree and let's get to climbing. All right, guys, so as you can see, I'm just about ready to go ahead and climb. I just got my harness on and I'm ready to go. And what you might have just seen a little bit of is just a little bit of confusion on how I want to go about attaching my sticks to my saddle as I'm climbing. So pretty much for now, what I'll do is I'll just attach one at a time and we'll take it from there. Clearly, things look a lot different than in the last frame. I don't have my sticks on the tree anymore. I don't have the platform up in the tree. I don't even have my saddle on. Ran into some safety issues that I really wasn't crazy about, so I stripped everything off the tree. We're not going to go any further with that plan for today. But I'll talk to you about what those issues were because I think they're important. My first issue is that my first step, this first step, I was having some issues with last year also. And I thought it was just a one-off, so I didn't really think too much into it. But what's happening with this step is when I put that first one on and I put I apply my pressure here on this right step, this entire stick wants to kick out. So obviously I got my down pressure here. You can see, I mean, the teeth bit into the tree pretty good, which is a great sign, right? That's what you want. But the problem is, when I put the tree up and I step on that right step down here, when I apply the pressure there, this whole stick kicks out like this. I don't know if it's because of these ropes that I'm using. Maybe these ropes are a little too thin. I think they're 8mm. Maybe I need to switch over to a 10mm rope, possibly, or a 9 maybe. But I'm gonna look into that a little further. The double steps were great though. I really enjoyed the double steps and having the 2 foot footing to have. Now my other problem, that stick bent. That entire tooth bent. Now, I don't think it's the tooth itself that bent. I think it's just the bolt that holds it into the tree, or that holds the tree teeth in. But I can't be climbing with gear that is bending when I'm putting my weight on it. I mean, I'm not the thinnest guy in the world, but I'm only, what, 196 pounds. These are rated at what, 250, 300. There's no reason why that should be happening. So now I need to strip all of these sticks. I need to replace the bolts before I try climbing with them. But what I will do to continue with this video and to keep on with the spirit of what I wanted to do today, in my car I have 2 triple sticks. And the first time I shoot out of a saddle, I don't want to be at height anyway. So what I'm going to do is when we're ready to shoot, I'm going to set up a triple stick here, set up my platform, and at least that way I'll shoot out of the saddle. I'll get those angles down, but I don't need to be at height and have that added sense of nervousness that I'm bound to get. So I don't know if we're going to shoot today or tomorrow. We were supposed to shoot after dinner, but it is now 7 o'clock and it's going to be dark in an hour and a half. So either we're going to shoot today after dinner or we'll shoot tomorrow morning. For you, it's not going to make a difference. Either way, it's going to be in the next frame. So next time you see us, we're going to be throwing some arrows downrange. All right, so here I am now. I got myself set up in my saddle. Obviously, this is not how I would have my setup per se if I were out hunting. Just for the time being, it seems to be easier this way. I got my bow set up, and my bag would be here on my left side. Got my bow here. I probably should bring it a little bit closer, so that way I can, you know, it's just right here for me to grab. Because whether the deer's coming from in front of me or over here, I'm going to be in this leaning position, and I want to be able to grab my bow right here and just have it nice and easy. But for what we're doing today, I'm not going to go too crazy about that. I just want to take some practice shots out of a saddle. Obviously, the angles in a saddle are slightly different than the angles in a regular stand. Obviously, when you're shooting in a regular stand, you can stand up, and in a saddle, you can't. You're leaning, you're in a little bit of an awkward position compared to what you're normally used to. So I promised myself I wouldn't even try to go hunting in a saddle if I didn't get a chance to shoot out of the saddle first. So I have a deer target set up. I also have a regular target set up. I don't like shooting at the exact same spot more than once. So we're going to shoot at the front of the vitals on the first shot, the back of the vitals on the second shot, and then shoot at the orange target for the remainder. Let's take some shots. Let's have some fun. Here we go with our first shot. And as you can see, obviously the wind's blowing. So this is a very realistic hunting situation. Although I will be completely honest with you, when it comes to shooting in the wind, as long as I'm shooting an Aero Concept 1.0 or 2.0, I really don't have any issues with the wind. I don't see the wind really affecting my arrow all that much. But you know, small testing size, and we'll keep testing that as we go. But I'm going to shut up now, and we're going to take our first shot out of a saddle. All right, first 4 shots in. First impressions, it's a little different, it's a little odd. You have to get used to not having your feet planted in the ground, and you have to get used to kind of leaning in. All right, what I would like to do better next time is maybe plant my knees into the tree so I'm a little bit more stable instead of being out and relying on this, because any little change in weight really gets you going. But if you can sit here on the tree, especially if I had my knee pads, which I forgot today, but if I were able to put my knees into the tree, that's a lot more of a solid base for me to shoot from than trying to shoot from out here. Either way, I think I made some great shots, but you know, they'll all come with practice, and I'll find what works best for me. And once I find that, I'll be sure to perfect it. But I'm gonna climb down now, I'm gonna pull these arrows, and then we're gonna change the angle of our shot, because truth be told, other than the height aspect, what I really liked about the saddle system is knowing for sure that I could get 360 degrees around the tree. And I understand that this is my best shot, and then if I needed to, I could also sit down and shoot here, right? So I could shoot behind me, no problem, okay? But outside of this and getting off to this side, that's gonna take a little bit more practice, you know, getting an offside shot. And for today, I don't wanna overdo it. I wanna ease into it. So I'm gonna keep doing everything to my right side, and I might even put a target behind me and take some shots over there. Okay, back up in the saddle. I have the deer target set up behind me over there. Actually a pretty realistic shot, because I'm gonna be shooting through the branches, which is actually pretty nice. I like that. Wasn't set up that way, just how it's gonna turn out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to sit with my knee against the tree this time, so I can get that stability against this tree that I'm looking for. Okay, so what I am noticing as I get into this shot is that my left leg is getting a little tired, I guess, with the way I'm sitting. I'm putting a little pressure. To me, that just shows that I'm still not comfortable with the gear, and that I'm not trusting to just sit in it, because now as I'm sitting in it, it's a lot more comfortable. But I do want that pressure a little bit so I can get that stability. So let's go for it. First shot good. Okay, what I'm noticing here shooting like this is that I am not nearly as comfortable. Not nearly. I'm noticing right away that I feel like I'm shaking a lot more. I'm gonna try this way now instead, with my foot up here. I'm pushing off the tree. I can't tell where that one hit, but we'll see it when we go over there. You can see it though on the camera because we got the GoPro up there on that. I'm gonna go ahead and take this last shot, climb down, and give you guys a rundown of last couple days and my takeaways from this session here. But I'm gonna go for the middle target on this one, just the big Delta deer. Looks like it's right in there. Okay, so you guys saw the GoPro footage. You saw where all these arrows hit, but overall, I'm very content. Granted, I wasn't shooting from up high, so all these are kill shots. If I was shooting up higher, I would probably aim like somewhere over here or a little bit higher than where I impacted, just so that way I could compensate for the angle of the shot. Overall, though, I feel like I did pretty well, and I wasn't comfortable, I'll be honest with you. Trusting the system is gonna take a lot of practice and just getting up in the tree and shooting. But with that being said, for me, I've never shooting out of a saddle before, and for all 8 of my shots to hit their target that I was aiming at, I'm happy, I'm content, and I'm looking forward to improving and bettering myself out of a saddle. So we've gone over why I got into saddle hunting. We went over the contents of my bag and my setup, the sticks I have, what customizations I've made to those sticks, and then went through my shooting process, or how I practice shooting for the first time out of a saddle. So I'm gonna keep building on this. I'm gonna keep improving myself, and hopefully we're able to put this into use this year and we're able to harvest a mature buck. As always, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Wing and Tail Boys, where commitment breeds success. If you like what you saw today, drop a comment, drop a like, let us know what you thought. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them down below as well. And if you can, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, have a great day.